Greater Idaho has not given up, and Idaho's Senate takes up the state's invitation to join. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another Declaration of Truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. In the week to come, the Committee for State Affairs in the Senate of Idaho will take up HJM 1. This is the instrument of negotiation with Oregon for moving their shared border to the Cascade Mountains. In other words, this is the instrument of invitation to Oregon's eastern counties to join the state of Idaho. Now, the Greater Idaho movement is campaigning heavily within Idaho to convince enough senators to act. Before I tell you the latest action and remark on the media attention that it is still getting, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of great merchandise there, especially this t-shirt that I've chosen for today, which depicts a predatory bird trying to eat a frog, except that the frog is choking the bird. And the caption, "Never give up." That about describes the mindset of Oregon's eastern counties, truth to tell. One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to see and get a notice every time I come up with a new one. In fact, you see the new icon, the heart shape with the US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click there and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now, as I've been doing, I left a link in the description to the Greater Idaho Movement's homepage so that you can follow, to a degree, the latest doings. But, of course, I'm going to share with you some information you are not likely to find on that site alone. To review, the Idaho House of Representatives passed House Joint Memorial 1, or HJM 1, on February 15th. The next day, the Idaho Senate received the bill, gave it first reading, and referred it to the State Affairs Committee. I've left links in the description to the full text of the bill and to its tracking page on fastdemocracy.com. The idea of the eastern two-thirds of Oregon joining Idaho has received a great deal of media attention, which shows they're taking it seriously. And most of that attention has come from the Oregon side. KGW-TV, Channel 8, Portland, NBC, seems worried about the prospect. They took note that Douglas and Josephine counties voted against secession, but among the possible reasons were that those minded to secede really want to carve out a state of Jefferson to include southern Oregon and some counties in Northern California. Originally, the Greater Idaho movement wanted all those counties to join Idaho, with the counties east of the Cascades. Greater Idaho hasn't given up on them either. They're merely reclassified the larger expansion as Phase 2. In addition, former Oregon gubernatorial candidate Betsy Johnson speaks of real visceral anger throughout the eastern counties. Perhaps the stifling of economic development and the allowance of hallucinogens, meaning marijuana, and psilocybin or magic mushrooms might explain part of it. Oregon's vision for public education curriculum also looms large. Very few counties east of the Cascades voted for any of it. I've left a link in the description to their segment on to that KGW segment on the Greater Idaho Movement and its progress. Now, station KOIN-TV, Channel 6, Portland, CBS, points out that if the eastern counties secede, they will take with them 3 of the 7 wonders of Oregon, specifically the Painted Hills, Smith Rock, and the Wallowas would become part of Idaho. So much for the Oregon side. Now, what might make Greater Idaho think that Idaho would extend them an invitation? In other words, what's in it for Idaho? Before I tell you that, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You are not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected changes in life have left many families struggling over the last few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges, but if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now, the Greater Idaho Movement recently released a video for consumption by Idaho residents. I've left a link to that video in the description. The pitch on the Idaho side comes down to these points. Idaho would nearly double in size, but receive only 21% more people. That would give Idahoans, and more to the point, newcomers, room to live. Already the state is full of refugees from blue states, and real estate developers are buying farms and subdividing them for new homes. Eastern Oregon would represent much more wide open space. The gem state would have the land area of Montana, but twice its population. The new residents would share the conservative values of the state they wish to join. Republicans routinely capture 75% of the vote in those eastern counties and 67% of the vote in present-day Idaho. More to the point, those residents would welcome the enforcement of Idaho laws against the newly legalized hallucinogens. Available drugs would then be a 5-hour drive from Boise, whereas they are 41 minutes away today. Eastern Oregon does have more than its share of Medicaid recipients, but many of those would not be eligible under current Idaho law. And that same body of law would let the eastern counties thrive. Simply put, the Salem, Portland, Eugene axis has forced the eastern counties to leave certain resources, especially fossil fuels, in the ground, while letting them grow marijuana and magic mushrooms to compensate. Following the annexation, that would reverse, and a lot more people would be a lot richer under that kind of economy. More making useful things, and no more zoning and tripping out. In fact, KGW-TV Channel 12, Portland, Oregon, Fox Broadcasting, gave attention to former Oregon House Speaker Mark Simmons' op-ed in the Idaho Statesman. I've left a link in the description to the Idaho Statesman's tweet linking to that piece. Let me quote you one sentence above all. Idaho would have the satisfaction of freeing rural conservative communities from progressive blue state law, unquote Mark Simmons, who went on to say that the gem state would have more than satisfaction. He reiterated Greater Idaho's claim that the annexation would stop the sale of drugs in the eastern counties. And that kind of commerce, the eastern residents do not want, any more than do the Idaho State Police. Nor do they want to pay the taxes to pay a $1,000 monthly stipend to homeless people and low-income earners. Oregon's legislature is considering a law to that very effect. In light of that, Fox and Friends invited Representative Barbara Ahart, Republican from Idaho Falls, to talk about HJM 1. I've left a link in the description to Fox News tweet linking to that segment. In it, Representative Ahart echoed much of Greater Idaho's pitch. Clearly, she demonstrated great enthusiasm for the idea of acquiring all that land, all those resources, lots of wide open space, and the authority to move the drug problem more than a 4-hour drive further west. The Senate of Idaho will be a tougher sell. Perhaps not as many senators in proportion to the full Senate see the advantages of the acquisition as clearly as Representative Ahart laid it out in the House. Well, Greater Idaho is undaunted. They have targeted several state senators for contact to urge them to vote to move HJM1 to the full Senate. The State Affairs Committee should vote in the week to come. When it does, we'll see. And one more thing. The thumbnail for this video is based on a map showing what Idaho, south of the current Washington-Oregon border, would look like after the Phase 1 annexation. Links in the description to the article, to the Greater Idaho homepage, to the text and tracking information for HJM1, to the KGW-TV segment, to Greater Idaho's short video addressed to Idahoans, to the Idaho Statesman's tweet advertising Mark Simmons' op-ed, to Fox News tweet linking to the Fox and Friends segment, to my Declarations of Truth's Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to the Greater Idaho playlist and both of those two videos that I mentioned. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.